Good evening. This is the council meeting for the City of Joliet for July 18th, 2017. The meeting is chaired by Mayor Bob Odekirk. The invocation will be given by Father Bill Dewan of Sacred Heart Catholic Church, 337 South Ottawa Street in Joliet, after which he will lead us in the pledge to the flag. Please rise.
Dear wise and loving Father, thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health we need to fulfill our calling, for sustenance and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work, for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thank you for loving us from your boundless and gracious nature. In the scriptures, you have said that citizens ought to respect governing authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace, order, and justice. Therefore, we pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for this assembled council. We're asking that you graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen sense of thirst for justice and righteousness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives and joy in their task. We pray for the agenda set before them, give them the assurance of what would please you and would benefit those who live and work and around our city of Joliet. In your most blessed name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for staying. Thank you. Very kind words.
Thank you, Father.
Welcome too. I gotta come by and see you.
Thank you, Father. I really appreciate it.
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Odekirk.
Here.
Councilman Dickinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Girl.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin. Absent. Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Turk.
Here.
First on the agenda under Mayor is Mayor Odekirk appointments. None this evening. Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved. Second.
Been motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Motion carried. Citizens to be heard on agenda items. Is there anyone present that would like to speak on an agenda item this evening? Seeing none, council committee reports. Economic Development Committee report.
The Economic Development Committee met on July 13th at 4 p.m. here at City Hall down in the planning room, conference room. In attendance, or the makeup of the Economic Development Committee, is Councilman Morris, Councilman Mudrin, and myself. We had one item, which was the incubator. So I'm going to go ahead and ask somebody to come up and bring forward the entire presentation we had yesterday. We'll just redo it. So other than that, everything that was discussed yesterday is what was discussed. It did make it with an unanimous recommendation for approval to move forward on finalizing the Phase 1 preliminary contract out of our committee. And that was all we had in the committee that day.
Finance Committee report.
Your Honor, the Finance Committee comprised this evening of Councilman Girl and myself met here in the side room at 5:30 p.m. this afternoon to review the we reviewed the property renewal and casual coverages for our insurance for the next year. There's a small increase. It's on tonight's agenda. Recommended approval. Also reviewed the monthly financial report, personnel summary, travel expense report, and invoices paid report. Found them all to be in order and recommend their approval.
Public Service Committee report.
Public Service Committee met yesterday, the 17th of July, right here in the council conference room. On it were standard contracts, change orders, pay estimate, final payments. We went through all of them, and all of them did meet with unanimous approval for a recommendation to the full council to approve everything. There were no problems or questions. And on the committee, aside from myself, is Councilman Dickinson and Councilwoman Gavin, and they were both there. Other than that, that's all we had for the meeting.
I show no other reports. Under consent agenda, approval of the minutes. It's recommended the minutes of the combined council meeting held on July 5th, 2017 stand approved as recorded. Invoices paid report. It's recommended this report be received and placed on file. Council Memo 375-17 position vacancies. It's recommended the city manager be authorized to fill 1 equipment operator 2 position in the roadways division, 1 maintenance worker position in the roadways division, and 1 human resources manager in the Department of Administrative Services, and any subsequent vacancies which may occur with these positions. Council Memo 376-17, authorization to approve the proposed renewal of property and casualty coverage. It's recommended the city manager be authorized to execute a contract with Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services for an amount not to exceed $731,182 for the 2017-2018 plan year. This was the amended amount that Marty spoke about last evening. In Council Memo 377-17, IMRF disclosure pursuant to Public Act 99-0646 retirements. Is there a motion to approve said consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under licenses and permit applications, Council Memo 379-17, transfer of a Class C liquor license at 2352 Glenwood Avenue, Chicago Dreams Food and Liquor. It's recommended Chicago Dreams Food and Liquor be issued a Class C liquor license.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 380-17, denial order of issuance of a Class D liquor license at 18 South Larkin Avenue, Daisies. It's recommended this license be denied.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Oh, go ahead.
I just had a question about it. Is this the same one we talked about last night? Is she gonna come back and,
I don't know.
no, you don't know? Okay.
She's here.
Are you gonna, I'm sorry, are you gonna come back and refile under the stipulations we talked about last night? Or removing was it the gaming piece, I think? Oh, okay. Gotcha, thank you.
So, Your Honor, the motion is to deny.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's been motioned and seconded to deny the issuance of a Class D liquor license for Daisies. Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
I wish that you'd reapply, not to vote aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Motion carried. The license was denied. Under public hearings, Council Memo 382-17, approving the annexation of 4 acres located at 2121 South Chicago Street. It's recommended this item be tabled to the August 15th, 2017 council meeting.
Motion to table.
Second?
It's been motioned and seconded to table Council Memo 382-17 to the August 15th council meeting. Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Girl,
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under ordinances and resolutions, Council Memo 384-17, an ordinance declaring certain properties as public nuisances. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motion and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Girl,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 385-17, an ordinance approving a variation of use to allow continuation of a 7-unit and single-family house in R4 use multifamily in an R2 single-family zoning district located at 209-211 North Center Street. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted with the following conditions. The owner participates in the city's landlord training and tenant screening programs. The property not be expanded in the future. The off-street parking remains in the future, and should the property be declared a public nuisance, it will be subject to a rehearing and possible revocation of the variation of use.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to adopt the ordinance with the above-mentioned conditions. Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Girl,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 386-17 is an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow an appliance resale store located at 1301 North Broadway Street. Recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Dickinson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Girl,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under resolutions, Council Memo 388-17, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a collective bargaining agreement with Illinois Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council patrol officers for 2016 to 2019. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So move.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Girl,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 389-17 is a resolution accepting a permanent easement for public utilities from the Joliet Public Schools District 86. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Girl,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 390-17, resolution authorizing execution of a license agreement between Level 3 Communications LLC and the City of Joliet for use of city rights-of-way. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 391-17, a resolution approving a development agreement with Startup Pavilion, Inc., doing business as Innovation Pavilion, Inc. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
I'm going to vote aye, but, Your Honor, I have a question. Steve, do you know how long before, once this is approved, that they intend on doing something on the property that they select?
The work plan that's attached to the agreement provides there's about a 3-month period where they start to mobilize their planning efforts. Then there's a subsequent period, I believe it's 9 months, and then it could be 3 to 5 years between the time that the plan is done and then they work through the process. It's interesting, I saw that Vic Ahmed had said something much more rapid in the newspaper yesterday. So that's something I'm going to have to follow up on as to whether they're looking to do a partial a partial building or something in a much quicker tone. But that's certainly not the big picture. That's not the way that they had proposed it.
Thank you.
Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Girl?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Motion carried. Under bids and contracts, award a contract. Council Memo 393-17, award a contract for the 2017 Hickory Spring Creek Cleaning Project. And Council Memo 394-17, authorization to continue funding for a managed PC replacement program. It's recommended Council Memos 393 and 394-17 be approved.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Girl?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Motion carried. Amendments, change orders, and payments. Council Memo 396-17, approved payment of the 2017 wastewater discharge NPDES permit fees. Council Memo 397-17, approved change order number 9 for the East Side Wastewater Treatment Plant Influent Pumping Station and Screen Replacement Project. Council Memo 398-17, approved change order number 1 for the Franklin Street Storm Sewer Replacement Project. Council Memo 399-17, approve amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement for the 2017 Sewer System Investigations and Rehabilitation Program. Council Memo 400-17, approve payment for license agreement and cellular service for GPS ADL services for the Roadways Division trucks. Council Memo 401-17, emergency repairs and budget adjustment for Joliet Union Station Migraine Brew Pub build-out. It's recommended Council Memos 396 through 400-17 be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Girl?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is the city manager's report.
No report.
New business not for final action or recommendation.
Betty?
Just one thing. I just want to ask maybe Jim or someone in roadways there. The road construction that's being done in the Forest Park area along Draper, Luther, Woodruff Road, is there something that we can do in terms of the dust? I'm a little concerned about the air quality in that area. We have large trucks coming through, quite dusty. Is there something we could, like water we could spray down to keep that dust down?
Yeah, that's associated with the water main replacement project that we're constructing up there.
Okay.
We can work with the contractor to try to take some measures to reduce the dust.
Okay, that'd be good. Thank you so much.
So
Yeah,
we
if you
can
look into that for me, thank you.
Okay.
Nothing.
Terry? Nothing. Jim?
Mayor, I don't know if this is considered new business, but you and I had discussed this about the bridges going over the Des Plaines River. And there have been so many complaints about our gateways and what a mess they are. And on a recent visit to Chicago, I noticed that the Chicago has drawbridges, but they're painted a dark maroon with a black street name in yellow writing. And it's so elegant and sharp looking. Because we have blue bridges, we have green bridges, nothing really matches. And I was wondering, and we talked about this, how do we go about getting IDOT to get us some good-looking paint on the bridges at least? And if we could do it, but I have pictures on my phone to show you, but when you go down the river down in Chicago, it's just really nice and it gives all the street names. So you'd have Jefferson Street, and then you'd have Jackson Street over the bridges, and it just made a whole difference, and I know that would really brighten up our gateways on the bridges. So anybody know how we could go about doing that?
I think one difference is Chicago owns the bridges.
Is that what it
I
is?
believe so, but does anyone have an answer? Jim?
Yeah, in Chicago, I'm almost sure, like you said, Mayor, that the city, they own the bridges. They can do what they want. If you want to, again, it's a matter of money, Jan. The state maintains all these bridges here. They're going to, we can ask them, but
What if we bought the paint?
I don't know how they're going to go ahead and do, We had problems with just painting the full bridge
I
in
know,
Jefferson,
but
as
the
we all
blue
know.
and the green, it's
Yeah.
just horrible. Just horrible. So I just wondered if there was somewhere we could just talk to them and, you know, work out some type
Well,
of
maybe the
deal.
mayor and I are going to see a few of the officials on Thursday, and we can bring it up to them.
Great. All right,
Okay.
I'll send you the picture. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Mike? Nothing. Two things. Steve Jones, a council member asked me if we could go over the incentive package for Innovation Pavilion. Could you just address that real briefly?
Sure. There are probably three components that are relevant. One is the city has several parcels of land that we've purchased over the years, and one we've been holding for development, the other one we've been using for parking. We've indicated as an incentive, potentially one of those two parcels of land could be used for the campus. We've also indicated that some of the startup expenses that they'll incur, upwards of $500,000, they typically ask the host community to consider reimbursement of some of those expenses. So in the agreement, we have language that says up to $200,000 or 50%, whichever is less, will be reimbursed. But that's at the time of actually applying for the building permit and having a specific project. So in effect, both of our incentives really are based upon them coming and starting something. This isn't the sort of thing where the incentives are up front. They could get the land and then turn it over to someone else without building. But once the plan is done, once the architectural renderings are done, the building permit's applied for, we get a real sense of what the project is. What's the scope? Is it 100,000 square feet? Is it 200,000 square feet? What are the 8 components they've put into it? And at that time, the city will look at the typical incentives we offer within our downtown area and see which of those apply to this project. So there's loose language that says the city will align these downtown incentives with the project at the appropriate time. So I don't know if it was Councilman Hugg, but someone mentioned early agreement or phase 1 agreement. That's in effect what we're doing tonight, or what we have done tonight. The second agreement will get into all the specifics, and at that point in time, if there's TIF incentives, sales tax, enterprise zone, whatever the menu is, it'll be aligned to that specific project. So the beauty of this is there's no risk to the city. They have to apply for a building permit, which means they've spent an awful lot of money to get this project off the ground, and that's the point of where the reimbursement and any land transfer would occur.
Okay, thank you. The second thing I want to talk about, we have obviously a baseball committee that I think is somewhat inactive for the most part. I spoke with the city manager, Marty Shanahan, and then with our corporation counsel, Chris Regis, and I think we have to change the ordinance, but I'd like to change that committee from a baseball committee to a stadium committee. The idea being that we are putting the turf in at the stadium with the purpose of increasing the number of venues that are there and hopefully have it being used year-round. So this isn't about baseball anymore, it's about a lot more, and I think that committee is going to have to get very active with oversight, not just in the installation of the turf, but then what happens once that's done. Again, it's our intention to use the stadium as much as possible, and I'm not saying that we're getting any resistance on that, but I think the committee needs to be involved to make sure that events are being booked year-round whenever possible. So if we could pursue that and have that the next month or so, if we can have that on the agenda, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, excuse me,
yes.
just one question on that. I was thinking about that the other day, because it's coming where sometime late this fall, we're going to have turf on the field there. And the city owns the stadium, whose responsibility is it to book events into the stadium for next year? Because I mean, we need to start doing that now if we want something for next year.
We agree. Marty?
That's why we talked about getting this committee going, because essentially we either A, have to have someone in-house, or B, hire someone to do that, so.
All right, okay, thank you.
Next, we have public comments. First, we have Rachel Gould and William Kobe.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Gould. I'm a trust officer with First Midwest Bank, and this is William Kobe. And one of the trusts for which we are responsible to administer, it did own 168 acres, and approximately 11 plus or minus was purchased by the Cobies. And this property is located, this is County Line Road, this is Black Road. This property is just south of Black Road and not the immediate parcel east of County Line Road, but one over. The primary use of this property, there is a Crogwell family property there, Mr. Coby's property. The rest of the property is used for agricultural purposes right now. And it has been farmed for decades. And around the time the Kearney Glen subdivision was put in, which is across County Line Road in Kendall County and just north, the drainage system ceased to keep up with the stormwater and the rainwater in the property that I'm mentioning, which is in the trust and Mr. Coby's property. This has been a dramatic increase in rainwater, not to say that it never collected before, but as soon as Kearney Glen was developed and houses went in there, the stormwater is no longer draining, and it will sit for weeks or months on end. Just so you have some idea what we're talking about, here's some photographs of the water that just pools like small ponds and lakes. It affects not only the agricultural use and Mr. Coby's property, but also and the home of the Crogwell home. The sump pump's running nonstop, needs to be replaced on an annual basis. There's moisture problems at the property. And in the winter, this can ice and cause problems onto Black Road, which are a traffic hazard. We've spoken with Mr. Shanahan. I've spoken briefly with Mr. Regis. We have also spoken with Mr. Trisna, Mr. Egan, and Mr. Agapsevich. And this has been ongoing discussions, and there's quite a lot of detail that I could relay in the interest of keeping it as succinct and simple as possible. I'd like to tell you that this is a manhole that was on the property, right with the property that we administer and Mr. Coby's property. This was in May. Dye was placed into this manhole, which turns the water temporarily like a pink-red color. Here you can see the dye in the manhole. And in very short order, that water then flowed into the pond at Kearney Glen. So this, we think, is demonstration of the fact that, in fact, the water is still flowing to some extent from the property in question over to the Kearney Glen pond, but at a very decreased level and at a level that collects water that interferes with the agricultural use of the property and creates a hazard onto the road. When we met in January with representatives from the city of Joliet, my goal was to just sort of identify what the facts are, what we agree is going on, and then maybe I could narrow down to see maybe if perhaps there's facts on which we disagree. We're trying to get to a solution here. We all agreed, everyone at the meeting agreed that from the east side to the west side of County Line Road, there was in fact a 5.5-inch increase in pitch. That's asking water to go uphill. And in fact, we have reason to believe that there is a greater incline than that, and here is the most succinct evidence I have to show you that. This standpipe is on the east side of County Line Road. This was just taken in June. And there is 16 inches of water there, knowing that water seeks its own level. You can see.
There's a 4-minute time limit. Could you wrap it up, please?
Sure. I'll be
Thank
done.
you.
Thank you. Where the water's flowing into the pond, it's at 1.5 inches. This would imply that, in fact, there is an incline of like some 14.5 inches from the east side of County Line Road over into the Kearney Glen subdivision and into the pond. In sum, we believe that the agricultural tiles were damaged and the already ongoing flow of stormwater, which had been flowing successfully off this property for decades, was interfered with and impeded and harmed by the Kearney Glen subdivision going in. We've talked about a number of different possible solutions, and I did get a quote recently for a pump that could go in for about $30,000. I don't want to take any more of your time, but we're asking for your insight and ideas on possibly resolving this issue. But there are other farmers in the area that are dramatically affected, similar to the property I'm discussing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mayor? Yes. Maybe you could direct the city manager to have the public service committee keep track of this as it moves forward.
Mayor?
Yes.
I just have a few quick comments. The first comment I want to make is the drains are actually not the low points, so that's where the water is collecting, and the drains are up here, and the water is collecting here. A second, there was a mention of a pitch of 5 inches or 14 inches, but there's also a 3 feet pitch down before it allegedly goes up. And then the third thing is we have been threatened with a lawsuit, so I'd prefer staff not to comment.
Can I say something to this crowd?
Yes, sir.
I've been out there for over 60 years, and I got out of service in '54. I've worked in that area, worked that farm ground all around here, up to 4,000 acres. That's all homes now. Where I'm at right now, I never had water problems like this. I had water stand overnight, and that's fine. The tile took it away because that tile run down. It's only got a half-inch pitch for the last half mile, laying perfectly flat. I got 16 inches of water in every tile I got on that farm right now because it can't run uphill. Now, you take Mr. Egan over there the first time we fired, and I can talk to him right now and get him up there, and if he tell you the truth, he's told me, he says, when I flooded the first time, the first heavy rain they had, it went over the bank in there. They had 5 feet of water in that ditch, which was ridiculous because it was over the water. It was running back up my tile, the tile. He says, well, we'll fix it. We put a new tile in, went all the way to the lake with a new tile. That's fine. I believe them. I was stupid enough to think the guy's telling me the truth. I go out there the next year, I'm flooded again. I go down there and look at it. They didn't put a new tile in. They took the tile that they broke, putting the subdivision in, putting the road in, hooked it to an existing storm sewer off the County Line Road, which is 5 inches higher on that side of the road than it is on this side, so they just went uphill with it. From there, I don't know who put it in, but I can give you got the black print for it, or the blueprint. The engineer, was it Norton or who?
Hamilton.
All right, I had the guy out there and survey it. He said, I got the papers right here. We were here and told him that tile was going uphill 10 inches. He said, don't make a bit of difference. We're going to have 5 feet of water in that lake anyway. And this is why that nothing works. Water won't run uphill. And if you get the existing tile that come out of there's 8,000 or 800 and some acres on this side and 800 on the other side that are coming. That tile run in, there was 3 tile come across that field. They run into that existing ditch there at the bottom of the ditch. Drain a tile out there that they got now. They put a thing, they had 5 feet of water in it. I talked to, when Girani was here, and the other city manager, he asked him why he didn't I wanted to get the wall knocked out. I said, you can't hold that much water in there. He said, I ain't got permission. He said, you have now. He knocked out half of it, which helped minor. I mean, we knocked it all the way down to the bottom, but he still has not got that lake going down to the bottom of that ditch where it was supposed to be originally. And one of the old tiles is still there running out of it, and it's at that level. But you got to do something with it. I've been 8 years now monkeying with this. I got 20 acres right now that I couldn't plant. It cost me an extra $500 an acre to fertilize it to put soybeans back in because I had soybeans in it last year. I couldn't get in early enough to plant corn. I got in there in July or June to put beans in. I spent $500 an acre to put the crop in, and then we haven't had any rain since. I mean, it's poor. And I've still got full tile in my farm. Now, you got to do something with it. You're the only guys that could have screwed it up. I mean, what can I say? It was perfectly all right until you put that subdivision there. That subdivision broke every tile. There was 3 of them going across that farm. And nobody paid any attention to them. What the hell with it? That's what they do in every subdivision I've seen. I got one up on Division Street. I got one on Essington Road, right behind Darcy's, where the city broke a tile 4 or 5, 6 years ago. And Mr. Egan was there. And Bob can get up here and tell you. I mean, he ain't going to lie to you like he did to me. I'll tell you that right now. He knows what's the matter there, and so do you people. You got to do something with it. If you didn't put Kearney Glen in there, we wouldn't have that problem yet. I'm getting tired of losing 30 grand a year. I mean, it's getting to be a pain. You got any suggestions on what you can do with it or what?
Artie?
You know what, I think the point that Mr. Colby actually made was the city has tried, at least since my time and before my predecessor, and I think the last 6 years, that we've tried and tried and tried, and nothing is ever enough. So again, like I said, I'd rather have staff not comment on this matter.
Well, can I ask you this? Why don't 2 or 3 of you people come out there tomorrow or the next day, get an engineer with your surveyor, come out and look at it, and I'll show you exactly where the water's going, and you can't deny it.
Marty?
We've done that. I actually have been on site myself. I know staff has at least 4, 5, 6, 7 times.
What have you done to correct it, though?
All right.
I prefer not to have this discussion in public.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, when you stand there and say you can't do nothing with it, when your black prints or blueprints show it's going uphill, you sure as heck got to be able to do something with it.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak under public comments?
Has anybody got guts enough to come out there and look at it? Think about it. I'll be there anytime you want to come out.
Hello, Mayor. Hello, council members. Hello to the city government of Joliet. My name is Ernest Krim. I've been a resident of Joliet for about 6 years now. I've also taught at Joliet Central for the past 5 years. Originally from Chicago, and I have to say that being a resident of Joliet now, I really love the city. It's a lot calmer, and where I live at, it's easier to get things done, and my kids love it as well, and my wife is from the area. As a teacher, I take pride in teaching my students that they can be whatever they want to be in life, particularly students that look like me and other minority backgrounds, because historically, our country has done a lot to subjugate us. Recently, when I took out a former student of mine, because I am a brother-to-brother sponsor at our school, and so I mentor our young men of all colors, I took a student to get something to eat. He's a student that's graduated about 3 years ago, and he's had some issues with the law, but he has a gray head on his shoulder, so I want to make sure that I continue to stay in his life. I love food, and I think everybody in here can say the same thing. Particularly, I love to eat my ethnicity's food, which is, some people would say soul food. Originally, my people are from Ghana and in West Africa. I don't eat meat, so I like to have food that kind of fits that. Additionally, I like to eat, soul food. And it's hard to come by in Joliet. I find myself often taking my money to other towns, whether I'm going back to Chicago or Harvey or whatever, I'm taking my money elsewhere. So when I took my former student to Aisha's, which is on Black Road, I believe, I love the food. I got all the side dishes, and my student got some fried pork chops, I believe. We had a great time. But what troubled me was when I researched restaurants in Joliet that were either black-owned or similar to that, I only came across that one, and I think in total there were about 4 to 5. And I was honestly appalled because I know Joliet has a sizable population of black residents. So when I did my research, I found out there were over 300 restaurants in this town. Of those, there are about 4 to 5 black-owned restaurants. So when you do the math, that's less than 1%. And the black residents in this town account for nearly 20% of the population. So there's a myriad of reasons why that's the way it is, because the problem is not just in Joliet, it's nationwide, and we know why: history of slavery, apartheid, racism, Jim Crow, all of that. So what I'm wondering is, what can Joliet, because I think Joliet is a progressive town from what I've seen, and they've done a lot. I mean, for example, at the school I teach at, I'm amazed and in awe of the diversity because I love it. I went to a school in Chicago that was just, every school is segregated, every neighborhood is segregated. So what can we do as a town and as a city to promote that diversity as far as our businesses too? Because honestly, school's great, but we're teaching our kids more about how to be workers than entrepreneurs. As a social studies teacher, we devote 1 semester to economics and then 1 month to consumer education. Nothing about business ownership. So when our kids leave, they're either working for somebody, or kids that look like me are going to Statesville or going to juvie. I've had several students. Sorry about my voice, but I'm very passionate about this. And it's not directed at anybody in particular, sorry about that, but I'm just wondering as a concerned citizen, as an African American, what can Joliet do to be a trendsetter to promote black-owned businesses, and more specifically, black-owned restaurants too, because we all love to eat. So that's all.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak under public comments?
First of all, I just want to apologize for my attire, but I am proud, as I'm sure the mayor and Councilman Dickerson can appreciate, my world champion Chicago Cubs. So I love wearing this attire. In any case, first I want to apologize to Councilman Dickerson. We had a great meeting yesterday at our Bluff Street building where the mayor came out and responded to concerns from our public housing residents, because he wanted our public housing residents to know that he's a mayor that cares about the entire city. I apologize to you because you're the liaison and I didn't call you. I can assure you that won't happen again. You'll be invited to our next get-together.
Thank you.
But it was very successful. The second thing I want to say is that I want to congratulate all of the City Council for your proactive approach to revitalizing our city center, and particularly our entire city. As I go on social media and I see a lot of the negative comments about, particularly about our east side, which I'm offended by, that crime is rampant in our downtown area and our east side, that's just totally false and untrue. But I also see that many of the comments made are from people from Manhattan and towns, so that people don't live here. So I want to congratulate you on your proactive approach in trying to revitalize our downtown, revitalize our city, bringing in more jobs, and being more diverse. The gentleman who spoke before me, he's been in this town for 8 years. I've been in this town my entire life. And I can assure you that this mayor and this city council has been more proactive with trying to bring in more minority, which includes Hispanics, African Americans, Asians, and others, not only into the business community, but by creating jobs to help out some of our more economically depressed areas. So once again, I just want to thank you for your proactive approach, and I don't even respond anymore to those individuals who are just taking shots at our city who don't even live here. And some who do live here and who have been constantly negative, and they make 1,000 requests for information from the city, you're not going to change their opinion. They're going to be negative until the day they die. But again, thank you, and continue the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Chris, if I may make one comment, the Joliet Chamber of Commerce has been very proactive, and they're actively working to establish a black chamber of commerce in Joliet for black-owned businesses. I think you're going to be seeing announcements from them coming up very shortly. So,
thank you, Mayor. I was going to tell them the same thing.
Can I make a comment? Sure. And also, too, that's more of an immediate, hopefully they can put together, a good African-American Chamber of Commerce. But will you hear it also, to listen about the Innovation Pavilion? Yeah.
You know what, actually, I was kind of nervous. This is my first time doing it. And I actually did come across that story a couple of days ago. I saw that you all met about it yesterday. I just wasn't sure. I got here
Right, and today we approved the first phase of agreement to try to bring it down, and we're crossing our fingers because it's thank you for calling Joliet a forward-thinking community as a new member, of the community in 6 years. But yeah, you want to keep, as an educator, keep your eye on the development of the Innovation Pavilion downtown, because that is for young folks, old folks like me, but mainly young folks of all colors, and certainly young folks of color who might need a little bit extra boost. There's a STEM school that's going to be associated. I mean, it's a pretty exciting program. As it develops, you can, probably talk to, any updates are going to come to Steve Jones, right, Steve? We are going to, at some point, just so the council knows, have to appoint a, what do you want to call it, general contractor, if you will, or a general manager, from the city liaison side. But, there is something for the long term, too, for all youth, and certainly for any youth that are youth in any minority group, any youth of color. So definitely make a note on that, and as an educator, keep up with that. And once they get here and set up shop, I think you should really want to work with them.
Do you think that would happen at some point next year, or is it kind of like
I think it's a couple of years away. I think it's a couple of years away before the timetable's not set yet. So like I say, what the mayor brought up and Councilwoman Gavin about the Chamber of Commerce, that's something that can have a more immediate effect, so you want to follow that. But this one is really thinking big, progressively long term. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Hernandez, what place are the Cubs in?
Betty.
Current world champion.
We won't talk about that. We're Sox fans over here. But I also wanted to address the young man that just spoke to us about the business opportunities and entrepreneurs. The junior college and the College of St. Francis, and I believe Lewis as well. You want to check with them about their business incubators. They have a entrepreneur incubator that's going on as well. But we are excited about this new pavilion that's coming on board. And thank you so much for the work that you do, sir. And continue to mentor those young men. Your students, men or women, but continue to do that. Sometimes when I'm trying to mentor, I'm a little bit out of their age group, so they won't listen to me as well as they'll listen to you. So continue to do that, sir, and good luck to you.
Next is mayor and council comments.
No, I have nothing.
Eddie?
I have nothing, sir.
Nothing at all?
I really didn't have anything, but since you all mentioned about the Black Chamber, and I apologize, I don't know the time, but this Thursday, the Joliet Black Chamber is having their first kickoff, what would you call it?
It's a mixer business.
Network mixer at the
Jacob Henry.
The Pritzville, the Richard Street.
Jacob Henry.
Jacob Henry Mansion. I'm not sure of the time, but if you contact the Joliet Chamber, who the Joliet Black Chamber is working with in order to pull things together, they will give you the exact time. But I do know it's this coming Thursday at the Jacob Henry Mansion. So that'll be a great venue to, meet and talk with some of the other business people here in Joliet. That's all I have, man.
Just two things. I attended a birthday party for Mr. Rogers from Wilmer Rogers, Duran and Ruzan on yesterday. He turned 90, so he's been a great business partner here in the city of Joliet for a very long time, so I'd like to wish him, again, a happy 90th birthday. And also today is our ICM, better known as Interim City Manager's birthday today. Happy birthday, Marty. How young are we today?
29.
And holding. Happy birthday, that's all.
Again.
Who would have thought you're a year older than me?
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
man.
sure.
To refer back, the staff just passed this to me. It's at 5 to 7 p.m. Thursday, the 24th, right? 8/24/17. You're invited to a kickoff event for a new chamber subgroup, the African American Business Association, at the Jacob Henry Victorian Ballroom, 15 South Richard Street. Again, from 5 to 7 Thursday evening. Thank you.
I got a couple things. Number one, July 6th, Nitro Night was held downtown Joliet. Thank you to City Center Partnership and all the members of the council who were out there supporting that event. It's been a great annual event. July 12th, the All-Star Game was held at Slammers Stadium for the Frontier League. The Slammers did a great job. They had a luncheon that day. They had a home run derby the night before. So they really did a good job rolling out the red carpet for the Frontier League. So thank you to the Slammers and the Frontier League for choosing Joliet. And I know most of the council was at one or both of those events. On July 13th, myself and City Manager Marty Shanahan were invited to tour Cadence Premier Logistics. Their facility is now fully open. I think we were blown away, Marty. I'm speaking for you, but what they've done there, very impressive operation. They are going to have a major rollout, and I would encourage all the council, when they do invite you to go down there, you're going to be really impressed with what's happening at that site.
Ask the mayor about how he did on the truck backup. This computer program was amazing. Simulator.
Yeah, how many people you ran over?
On the video, I mean.
A couple cones, but
no, he did not.
I drove a truck before, so. But anyways, no, it's really, really impressive. First-class operation. Of course, we announced about a month ago that Cadence announced last year they were bringing their corporate offices to Joliet. There's a separate corporate office from Schaumburg that's coming to that location, and probably more announcements are going to be made in the future. But they really do want to roll out the whole operation they have down there. It was really, really impressive. And then finally, on that same day, earlier in the day, myself, Councilwoman Quillman, and staff toured the Collins Street Prison. There's a lot of talk in the media about this. I don't know, Marty, if we really want to get into the whole conversation right now, but where are we going from here? we've been out there. The museum has made a presentation. I put a lot of thought in it. I know Councilwoman Quillen, you have too. There's 20 good reasons to get involved. There's 20 good reasons not to get involved.
So my next plan is to reach back out to the IDOC for a couple of questions that we had.
Okay. And at the council level, this is something we're going to have to discuss. Obviously not tonight. Is this something you want to put on the agenda? There's nothing in front of us.
No, not just, there's a couple of questions I want answered first before something gets presented.
Okay.
But Mayor, I would like to thank the IDOC for the tour that day. They did not allow any photography, but they took us everywhere we wanted to go in that campus, if you want to call it a campus, and unbelievable. But many thanks goes to the warden and his staff.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess there's more to add, but we can hold off for now. But the warden from Stateville accompanied us. The former warden for that prison was there. So thank you to the state of Illinois and IDOC for what they did. And I could say that I think we saw everything that you would want to see on a tour. So, you know, again, there's a lot that goes to this, but the idea of getting this thing up and running for tourism probably isn't that far out of reach. We did it, you know, in the bad condition it's in, we were able to take a tour. So, in any case, that's all I have. But thank you, staff, for coming out. I know even amongst the staff, there's some very strong opinions about what should happen there. So I guess moving forward, once you get those answers, if you can let us know,
Okay, I will.
and we will address this at this level.
Question there?
Yes.
So if I understood the councilman correctly, there's no video of the tour? They wouldn't allow it?
No.
Okay.
And there is, Mayor, there is a request for executive session.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel, collective bargaining, land acquisition or conveyance pending or threatened litigation, after which the meeting will be adjourned?
So moved.
Second?
Been motioned and seconded. Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Girl?
Aye.
Councilman Hugg?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Motion carried.